Shumai guys, welcome back to the Life to the Full podcast, the podcast that helps you make the most of your time here on Earth. My name's Dav Morse, I'm your host. Here on the Life to the Full podcast, we like to talk about all manner of things helping us to live life to the full. Financial health, physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and of course, relational health. We are in the middle of a series on relational health. We've looked at our relationship with ourselves, relationship with our friends, and interestingly enough, last week we looked at the relationship in marriage, the marriage relationship, how it is the second most influential decision of your life. And today we are diving into one of the most challenging, most rewarding, most terrifying, and most beautiful relationships you can have. The relationship with your kids. Now, before we go any further, I need to just get it out there straight away, right up front. This is possibly even more of a difficult episode than last week for some people. Not everyone has children, not everyone wants children, and not everyone can have children. I know of people who have desired children for a long time, and the way of the world is that they haven't been able to, and that is desperately sad. It is something that we struggled with for a number of years before we had our daughters. Both times we struggled to get pregnant, and it was a difficult time, and that was one of the reasons that we have a 5-year gap between our daughters. So I understand the difficulty, the pain of waiting, hoping, every month thinking, I wonder if this is it. But for those people who have come to that place of this is not going to happen, I want to honor you, I want to respect you, and I want to say, go 100% at life in a different direction. Children are wonderful, but not having children can also be wonderful. If it is something that your heart's desire, then I know there are things that you can do to go down a different route if you choose to do so. We have friends, several friends, who've had babies via IVF, and friends who have adopted, who've fostered, and go back and listen to episode 8 again. It is a challenging thing to do, to adopt or to foster, but it is incredibly rewarding. They come with their own set of unique challenges. They're not easy decisions to make. Wherever you are on that journey of waiting or acceptance, then don't put your life on hold. Do some amazing things. Trying to have children or accepting that that's not what life has in store for you, then I would encourage you to take an active role in raising the next generation, whether they are your biological children or not. I like to think about spiritual parenting. One of the things that was said about my wife is that she will be a mother to many and a spiritual mother. And as it so happens, that is the way that things have worked out with her work and her giving of her time. She works with children who are fostered, a lot of them adopted, have had difficult starts to life. And she is a mother to more than just our children. She mentors and guides and invests in the next generation. So whatever that may be for you, that might be a younger person at church, or a niece or a nephew, or maybe even somebody at work. Maybe it's a neighbour's kid, or maybe it's a young couple who need guidance. Think about the people that invested in you when you were young. The teacher that believed in you, the coach who pushed you, the family friend who took an interest, the family friend who said, I am willing to give myself as a father figure for this young person. You can be that for someone else. Some of the most impactful parenting happens through these kind of relationships. It's intentional. You don't necessarily get caught up in the grind. You can be deliberate in your decision making. And sometimes young people are more open to hearing from somebody who's not their actual parent. So as we go through this episode, I want to invite you to think this can apply to me. If it's not with your biological children, then who can it be with? You can be a compass for a young person. You can stretch your emotional capacity to meet them where they are. You can be their hero. It reminds me a little bit of Enrique Iglesias. Don't sit on the sidelines. Don't wait to invest in the next generation. Be a spiritual parent. This episode is for you too. For those of you who do have kids or want them someday, let me make a case for why having kids is a good thing. In our culture right now, there is a narrative that kids are a burden. It's expensive to have kids. They will hold you back from living your best life. I see so many people online proud about the fact that they don't have any children, they don't have any responsibilities to them, and therefore they can do whatever they want. Now, I'm not one to make things rosy. Kids are hard. They will absolutely disrupt your life. They will rob you of sleep, of freedom, and spontaneity in many, many ways. But it is incredibly worth it. Kids are not as expensive as people make them out to be. Kids are as expensive as you make them. If you can get comfortable with having hand-me-down clothes or hand-me-down cots, hand-me-down chairs, hand-me-down equipment, then that can massively reduce the cost. If you can be intentional about which clubs and activities you want your children to do, maybe just pick one. You get a more financially reasonable life and a simpler life. If you can get comfortable with a simpler life, you don't need all the stuff that culture tells you that you need. Kids will give you so many things. Kids will give you meaning and purpose beyond yourself. Now, I know people will come back at me and say, well, I have meaning in my life just as me. Wonderful. That is incredible. I'm so happy for you. But there is something about raising a child that connects you to something bigger. It's something that humans have done for millennia. They have passed on themselves into the next generation. You are building something for the future. It's an opportunity for you to pass on your values and to see, like a garden blossoming, children growing up to be wonderful young adults. There's a joy in parenthood that you cannot find anywhere else. There is that wonderful moment of when they look at you and say, Daddy, I love you, or Daddy's my hero, or you see them doing something for the first time, you see them solve their first equation, or you see them doing their first bit of parkour, or you see them being kind to another human for the first time, seeing them growing in empathy, and it's just a wonderful joy. There's a richness to life that kids give you that you cannot get elsewhere. They will provide you with opportunities to grow, shall we say. They will expose every flaw that you have. I once remember a teacher saying, why is it that I can stand up in front of a class of 30 children and I can tell them what to do, and if they give me attitude, I can react in an appropriate way. But when it's my own 3 kids, the 10 times fewer of them, They just know which buttons to press. They know just how to wind me up. Kids will emphasize any weaknesses in character. They will find it. They will push those buttons. But actually, that's a gift. They force you to become a better person. They force you to become more patient, more loving, more compassionate, kinder. They teach you in ways that you can't learn any other ways. Selflessness and unconditional love. And there's a thing that I wanted to raise after last week's episode. Had some feedback from a listener on Facebook, and she said that most of the men aren't like the ones I described in the last episode. Most of the men of society are not ones that encourage women to flourish and draw them out, provide them with opportunities to grow and support them. Most men aren't like that. But with having our own children, we can build that legacy. We can instill values in them of honesty and integrity and kindness. We can raise our children to be the kind of men and women that we want to see in the world. If we look around and we see that the world is not full of men who are caring and strong and courageous and respect women, and we see women who use men and are not interested in forming relationships, they're interested in independence. If we see those kinds of people out in the world, then having children is a wonderful opportunity to go against that culture, to encourage our children to follow in our footsteps of kindness and gentleness and love. We can raise sons who are kind and respectable and honourable, and daughters who know their worth and won't settle for less. One of the things that you can call it a reason to have children, I mean I certainly think is a reason to have children, is the plummeting fertility rates. If you look at fertility rates, so how many children a woman has over her lifetime, there is a concerning trend across the globe, apart from some corners of Africa and Asia. But across the West, people are having fewer children. And we are not having enough children to replace the next generation. So over the next decades, population of the world will decline. And the population will get older. And we need a generation, we need people to replace the people who are old. We need people to go on and be the next generation and not just die out. So kids are hard, they are worth it. So how should we think about relational health when it comes to our relationship with our kids? Well, every kid is unique. Every child is unique in what he or she brings to the world. And it is something that I learned just from having 2 children. They say, you never have 2 the same. Chi byth yn cael 2 yr un peth. And that is true. My kids are completely different from each other. They are raised by the same parents, same house, same values instilled in them from a young age, but they are completely different. I've heard it said that God gives you the children that you need. Not the kids that you want, not the kids you think you deserve, the kids that you need to make you who you were meant to be. So let's tell you about my daughters. So my oldest, she's just like me. High confidence, motivated, novelty oriented. She's got the same sense of humour as me. I caught her making faces in the mirror the other day and I thought, that's exactly the kind of thing that I did when I was a kid. She tries to weasel her way out of trouble by using logic, just the same way I did when I was a kid. From a young age, I don't know, 2 or 3, she could see consequences of actions. She could understand the time passing. You could reason with her. I remember being like trying to explain to her, look, when this happens. When you do this is what happens. And she could see that, and she could learn behavior that meant that her outcomes were more positive, more favorable. So when I parented her, it is easier, shall we say. I'm not sure about easy, but I know what to say to get the most out of her because I know how her brain works, because it works the same as mine. And my wife has had 20 years of putting up with me, so she kind of has a little bit more of an insight about how her brain works. She seems to be pretty emotionally stable on the whole, but then all of a sudden she'll just let it all out. But mostly she's steady, logical, confident. Our other daughter is completely different. She is a bit of a mystery to us, and so this is where it gives us an opportunity to learn about people, to learn about how the world works, to learn how to see things through another person's eyes. I don't know if you've come across the Enneagram. I might do an episode of the Enneagram at some point. It's a personality type quiz thing that you can do. So you get split up into different numbers, different personality types. And I think that she is an Enneagram 4. So she is a romantic or an artist. So she has big emotions, high highs, low lows. She feels completely misunderstood. She's creative. Is moody the right word? Up and down, sensitive. And neither my wife or I have had much experience with really being close to and dealing with that level of emotion. And the extreme ends of the emotion scale is something that we are both a little bit baffled by, really. She can't see the logic of things. She's got no idea of the passing of time. So reasoning with her is just a waste of time. She needs connection. She needs acceptance. And she needs presence. She needs to know that we are there for her. I'll give you a recent example of how I got things wrong with her and then got things right. So the other day we were late leaving the house for school. Surprise! I tried being all logical, just my natural thing. Right, we're running out of time. We're going to be late. You'll have to go through the school office. You don't want to go through the school office, so you need to leave now. So get your shoes on. We need to just go. Shall I just leave you here? What happens if I just leave you here? Are you going to get to school on your own? No. So come on, let's go. Go. None of it worked. She just got more upset, more tears, more screaming. We eventually got out the door, still with screaming. And then she just looked at me and said, "Daddy, carry me." And normally, I don't really respond to those kind of requests. I'm more of a, right, come on, you can get on with it. No, you don't need to carry, just get on with it. But I picked her up. I hugged her. I carried her for a bit. I said, "Oh, it must be so hard for you. It must be so hard to leave the house. It must be really difficult when Daddy's trying to get you out of the house and you just don't want to go." And she settled right down. Didn't take very long. A minute and a half, 2 minutes. And she settled right down, and we actually had a lovely walk to school. She didn't need logic. She didn't need somebody telling her what to do, like I respond well to, my first daughter responds well to. She needed connection. She needed to feel safe. And this is it. This is stretching me. This is forcing me to grow in emotional capacity. It's developing empathy in me that I wouldn't have had otherwise. I've said before, I have no natural empathy, and I've had to work on it. My daughter is my teacher. She is the one that gives me an opportunity to grow. God gave me the daughter I need. the daughter I need to become who I'm meant to be, and has given me the wonderful opportunity to help shape her life so she can become who she's meant to be. She's not meant to be the other one. She's not meant to be another version of me. She's meant to be her. And it's my job to encourage that, to help her to flourish. I know some people might be thinking, God gives you the kids that you need, and think, that's nice for you with relatively easy kids. Yeah, well, we should talk about that at some point. But my child has severe autism, or ADHD, or behavioural issues, or disabilities. Now, I don't want to put words in people's mouths. I don't want to belittle the difficulties, the challenges that people face. I do want to share a little bit of some of the experience of Andrew and Rachel Wilson. They've got 2 children with severe autism, and they've written a book called The Life We Never Expected, where they share honestly and radically the challenges that they face daily with 2 severely autistic children. It has put a hold to the direction that they thought they were going to have for their lives. They thought they were going to have life this one way, but life took a turn, and they are learning to trust the process. They are learning to be less self-focused. They are learning how to get the most out of their children, the children that they've had. The children that they have shaped them and grown them and taught them things they needed to learn. Rachel says, "Not only do our children have wonderful gifts and qualities in themselves, they draw out the gifts and qualities in other people in ways I never could have expected." This is not some kind of romanticizing. Some kids have a level of sacrifice and endurance that most of us can't imagine. If that is you, then it doesn't mean it's not going to be hard. It doesn't minimize what you're going through. But I hope you can see some glimmer of hope that there is goodness and kindness that can come out of a really difficult situation. There's a book called Hold On To Your Kids by Gordon Neufeld and Gabor Maté that profoundly shaped how I think about parenting. So the core idea is this. In Hold On To Your Kids, Neufeld and Maté talk about children today increasingly looking to their peers for direction, their values, their identity, their codes of behaviour, rather than to their parents. So for centuries, children in cultures worldwide were deeply attached to the adults around them. Parents, grandparents, teachers, other members of the attachment village. And these adults were the secure base. These adults were the ones that were guiding them and orienting them as they learned essential life skills, absorbed cultural values, and gradually matured into adulthood. It was the parents, the adults, the grown-ups. They were the ones who the children would look to for guidance. But something has shifted. And interestingly, I think he says that it started shifting around the time that I was a kid. And now it's kind of moved on so that the kids who were kids then are now parents, and they're passing on their values. These values of kids being attached to their peers more than their parents. They look to their friends more than ever to figure out how to dress, what to value, how to behave, what's cool, what matters more than anything else. And this is a massive problem. It's a massive problem that kids are now looking to their peers instead of their parents for their values. Peers are not equipped to serve as their compass. In the book, it talks about you as the adult being your children's compass. You are the compass that they use to have direction in their life. You are the compass that points them in the right direction. You are the compass that knows the better path. And peers don't have that level of experience or wisdom or knowledge to raise each other. As a parent, it's your job to be the one that they turn to. It is your job to be the one that gives them a sense of purpose and security, not their peers. I cannot think of anyone worse to be giving advice to my teenage daughter about boys than other teenage girls. Talk about the blind leading the blind. There's no one I'd rather be giving advice to my children than me, than my parents, than my in-laws, than the uncles and aunties that they have. Certainly not their peers. Our kids need to be so familiar with us and comfortable with us as their compass that they start to get uncomfortable with being pointed in the wrong direction by their peers. Obviously, this doesn't mean they shouldn't have friends. Of course they should. But those friendships need to be rooted in their attachment to you as parents, rather than because that attachment isn't there with the parents. They need to form attachments with their peers. When a child is securely attached to a caring adult, they can have friendships without looking to those relationships to define who they are. They will keep their adult as the compass point. We'll talk more about attachment when we get an attachment expert, that's my wife, on the show, hopefully next week. We need to stay as their compass. How do you do that? Well, the book claims that the best way to keep the attachment alive between parent and child is to offer spontaneous, desirable invitations. They describe the importance of having a 5-minute time at the beginning of the day to make eye contact, engage in conversation uninterrupted. And when your child has been away for a long time, like at school or with friends or whatever, it is important to resume that role as compass when they come back. Collect them, reconnect, make eye contact, ask how they are. No matter what problem or issue we face in parenting, our relationship with our children should be the highest priority. That's what these guys say. I'll come back to that point a little bit later. Children do not experience our intentions, no matter how heartfelt. They experience what we manifest in tone and behavior. Your relationship with your kids is the foundation. Everything else, discipline, education, character development, flows from that attachment. For your kids, their relationship with you is the most defining and important relationship that they will ever have. You will define so much of their future life by what you do and what you don't do. I was actually just thinking about doing this episode and just rethinking about this book and thinking, yeah, that's a reminder to me that I need to connect. I need to make eye contact. I need to be the one that they turn to. At the moment, they're still young, so they still have that almost automatic connection. They haven't yet got to the point where they're looking to their peers completely. But I need to make sure that as a father, I am keeping me as their compass point. And for you to do that, and this is one of the key points for today, we need to grow in our emotional capacity as parents to meet our kids where they are. And this is hard. This is why parenting is so difficult. because we need to do things out of our comfort zone. We need to go beyond what our natural way of being is. Our kids might not be like us. They might be, they might not be. They might need things that we don't naturally give. They might communicate in ways that we don't naturally understand. That is just like my second daughter. My first daughter, she's just like me, responds well to logic and reasoning, needs freedom and autonomy, challenged, motivated by challenge and novelty, and she's emotionally steady most of the time. Second daughter, she needs to feel heard and understood first. She needs emotional validation, even when I don't understand why she's upset. She's motivated by connection and feeling special. The way that I parent one doesn't work for the other. And this is where it can get tricky. Both of my girls have said at times that they feel like the other one gets preferential treatment. As a parent, that is absolutely my number one thing. I have to make sure that they know that they are both equally loved. They are both as precious to me as the other. I don't have favourites. Having favourites is a recipe for disaster. Awful idea to have favourites. But how do you love someone differently without it feeling unequal? How do you meet the kid where they need without them thinking you're playing favourites? I don't have all the answers. It's something that I am continually learning, but I know telling them and showing them by giving them what they need is so, so important. I have a beautiful picture of what parenthood is like, and it's something that I picked up from a friend of mine. He had a guest on his podcast, and this guest said, "We are but Fletchers sending out arrows into the world." So Fletchers, just in case you didn't know, make arrows. That's what they do. Their job is making arrows for bows to be shot. And so when we think of our children, these are not something to be held on to. Children aren't something to be kept forever. But in fact, it is our job to prepare the arrow to be shot into the world. Each piece of wood that a Fletcher would pick up would be different, but he has to make it straight-grained. He has to make it the right length and thickness, and he'd strip it and shape it to the desired size, and then he'd put the arrowhead on, made from stone or metal, with some binding cord or glue, or pine pitch or beeswax or animal fat, and then choosing the feathers, the swan, the goose, or the turkey, and they have to make it exactly. They put the feathers on the end of the arrow, and they have to make it exactly 120 degrees. It's really precise. And so in this image, there is this idea of identifying what the needs are of the child. There is a provision, a providing, a caring, a taking effort to look after, so that this child is ready to go off into the world. The Fletcher doesn't make arrows to keep them. He makes arrows to send them forth, to be launched, to fly, to hit their target far from where they begun. And that's what we're doing as parents. We're not raising children, we're raising adults. That's good, isn't it? We're not raising children, we're raising adults. And by pouring into them now, we are giving them the best chance that they have to build character, to go on and do amazing things in the world. We shape them carefully, trimming here, smoothing there, correcting what needs correcting, stabilizing what needs stabilizing, giving them a sense of security, and then we let them go. Our job isn't to hold on to our children forever. Our job is to prepare them, to give them what they need, and let them go. You want to launch them well. You want them to be ready, have the character, the values, skills, and resilience to thrive wherever they land. I'm reading another book right now called Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters by Meg Meeker, specifically about fathers and daughters, but I think the principle applies to all parents and all children. Meg Meeker explains why an active father figure may be the single most important factor in a young woman's development. One of the things that she emphasizes is fathers need to be their daughter's hero. I want to extend that to parents need to be their children's hero. I want to be my daughter's hero. I want to be the person that they look to, the person that they admire, the person they feel safe with. I want to be their protector, their guide, their biggest cheerleader. And I know my oldest is only 10, and I'm still her hero. It was lovely. She saw me reading the book and said, yeah, you are the most important man in my life. I mean, I know I obviously am, but it was sweet to hear her say it. Now, at some point, sadly, you'll stop being their hero. Usually around the teenage years. Like I said earlier, we want to hold on to our kids and be the compass as long as we can be. But there will be a point where they push back against you, they reject you for a season, they prioritize their friends over you. It's normal. It's part of them individuating, becoming their own person. But what is beautiful is that if you've built a strong foundation, if you can maintain that attachment, if you have been their compass, they'll come back. You get to be their hero later on as well. Not the same way as when they were little, but in a new, fresh way. As an adult relationship, mutual respect, deep friendship. I hope that my daughters will want to come to me for advice when they're older. Advice on finances, on physical health, on mental health. I hopefully will have more to say then, but I want them to come to me with their concerns, with their challenges, and I want to be a hero for them even as they grow up. I mentioned last time the episode that I did a while ago, right at the beginning of the podcast, about what kind of grandfather do I want to be. Well, when you parent your children now, you're parenting for the relationship that you'll have when they're 30 or 40 or 50. You're parenting for when they're bringing their kids to see you, when you are a grandfather, maybe even one day a great-grandfather, watching your great-great-grandchildren, maybe not great-great, that's wild, great-grandchildren playing. That's the vision. That's what we're building towards. Not just getting them through childhood, but building a relationship that lasts for a lifetime. Surprisingly enough, the Bible has some amazing wisdom on how to raise kids. And so I'll put it in here just so that you can hear what the Bible has to say about raising children and see if you can take anything from it, even if you're not really a Bible fan. There's 3 verses that I want to share here, and 2 of them are quite similar. Ephesians 6 verse 4 says, "Fathers, do not exacerbate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord." Don't exacerbate your children. Don't provoke them to anger. Don't be harsh or unreasonable or constantly critical. Instead, train them, instruct them, show them the way that they should go. Next one is, train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it. Obviously, this isn't a guarantee. I know many, many parents who have trained their children well, and their children have departed from it. But it's a principle. Invest in your kids' character when they're young. Teach them what matters. Model the life that you want them to live. And trust that those seeds will bear fruit, even if there is a season where they wander. And then thirdly, Colossians 3:21. Fathers, do not embitter your children, or they will become discouraged. Your words have power, your tone has power. The way you relate to your kids shapes how they see themselves and how they see the world. Don't crush their spirit. Don't be so harsh that they give up. Don't be so critical that they stop trying. Instead, encourage them, build them up, and believe in them. Now, I know this next point will be controversial, but I'm going to go with it anyway. Your relationship with your spouse should take priority over your kids. Now, with all the caveats that I mentioned from last episode, single parents, for whatever reason, or difficult relationships, I believe that your relationship with your spouse should take priority over your kids. Now, let me explain. Obviously, I'm not saying neglect your kids. Obviously, I'm not saying your kids don't matter. I'm saying that the best thing you can do for your children is to love your spouse well. The most important thing a father can do for his kids is to love his wife. And the most important thing a mother can do for her kids is to love her husband. Why? It provides a place of stability for children where people see their parents loving each other well, committed to each other, working through conflict in healthy ways. They see how they will be as parents. One of the things that my wife taught me about parenting is that you learn almost everything you will learn, or 90% of what you learn about being a parent is learnt before you're 2 years old. So the kind of parent that you are, if you want to be a parent who is an example, then the first 2 years are incredibly important. It's important for them to have a sense of security, a place where they know that the love is unconditional. Kids who grow up in homes where the parents are constantly fighting or arguing, or the marriage is neglected, those kids don't feel secure. They feel anxious, and they feel like they have to keep things together. But kids that grow up knowing that mum and dad love each other, those kids can just be kids. They don't have to worry about their parents' relationship. They can focus on growing up. So prioritize your marriage. Model healthy relationships for your kids is one of the best and most impactful things that you can do for them. And this is also another good point. Full of good points today. Let me know what you think. Your kids are going to leave someday. They will launch, and then you will still have your spouse. And don't sacrifice for your kids at the altar of your marriage. Don't sacrifice your marriage for kids. Build both. Make memories. One of the most wonderful things that I've done as a father is taking my daughter skiing for a week, just me and her, just the two of us. It was such a wonderful time, just a whole week together on the slopes, eating meals, talking, laughing, watching Bluey. We watched a lot of Bluey that week, and I find Bluey hilarious, and we could bond over that. Just the two of us, and it was wonderful. that is a memory that she will carry with her. That is a memory that I will carry with me. And that is a memory that will shape who she is. Another thing I like to do is take the girls Father's Day camping, so daddy-daughter camping, where we just go, pretty simple, but it's time for me to spend with them with no other agenda other than just have a good time, cook, eat, play. It's memory building, it's relationship building. Those of you who have listened to the podcast for a while know that one of my favourite podcasts to listen to is Radical Personal Finance by a guy called Joshua Sheets. And he did a whole series on how to invest in your children. And they are episodes 908 through to 936. That's the first and the last one. I think he did a 14-part series with a few sprinkled in as well. But I thought maybe I could pull out some key ideas here. If you're going to invest in your children, if you're going to care for your children as one of the most important things in your life, then there are several things that you can do to help. You can invest in their bodies. You can get them doing athletic things. You can do physical games with them. You can get them outside, get them moving. Teach them to love their bodies and take care of them. Moving and having physical activity as a way of life. Get them on their bikes. Get them out hiking. Get them swimming. Get them playing in lakes. Get them taking care of themselves. Give them proper nutrition, good food, and they will become strong and healthy and athletic children. Invest in their minds. Help your children to become accomplished, fluent readers. Promote numeracy, promote education, not just formal schooling. Don't get me started on formal schooling. But just teaching them to think, teaching them to question, to learn, to read everywhere, to have books all over the place, to model reading for yourselves, ask them questions that encourage them to think. The most important investment in your kids is investing in their character. Honesty, kindness, responsibility, courage, perseverance, grit. These are all qualities that will serve them far better than any academic achievement. And character is caught more than taught. Funny. Character is caught more than taught, according to Joshua Sheets. They learn it by watching you. Invest in their spiritual formation. If you're a person of faith, this is critical. Pray with them. Read scripture with them. Model what it means to follow Jesus. Let them see your faith in action. Not just on Sundays, but in how you treat people, how you handle stress, how you respond to difficulty. I have never heard anything quite so frustrating as somebody who says, I'm not going to teach my children about my beliefs. I'm not going to teach my children about spiritual things because they'll just kind of find their own path. I don't want to put them on my path. I want to, let them discover who they are. Let them discover for themselves what spirituality is all about. And I'm just thinking, we don't do that with, mathematics. We don't just do that with reading. We don't say, you can just figure out reading. Here's a book. Or maybe go and find a book and just try to figure it out. We teach them how to read. We don't say, oh, mathematics, you can just learn that by yourself. Just learn it by osmosis. Try a few things. Try a few, ideas. Try things out. No, you teach people mathematics, and I think we should teach our children how to walk spiritually uprightly. Make sure that they have good friends around them. So in terms of being a compass and them looking towards their peers, if you can curate an environment where their friends are good and honest and healthy friends, then that gives them so much better of a chance. Teach them about finances. Teach them about money. Make sure that they can save and spend and give, all the things that we should be doing with money. They understand how it works. That is a skill that will live with them forever. What are some of the hard parts of being a parent? Those of you who are parents will know some of the difficulties. The exhausting nature of just constant demands. When they're babies, they just wake you up and they just scream and they cry and they demand, and when they get older, they scream and demand and whine and doesn't ever stop. It's exhausting. And so you need someone who can support you, who can help you, who can encourage you. For some people, it's scary. I remember the first time I stood in front of a classroom of students as a teacher, and I thought, oh my goodness me, these parents are actually entrusting their children to me. That's wild. They actually trust me to look after them and teach them and care for them. And that's, true as a parent. You think, gosh, how can I look after this little human being? How can I be so responsible for another life? It can be quite scary at times. Can be quite wild thinking, wow, how did I get here? I mean, we all know how we got there, but that's for another day. There are moments where your kids just push your buttons. There are moments where you might think, why did I do this to myself? I don't like you very much right now. I love you, but I don't like what you're doing. You may well feel that. You will most likely constantly feel like you're failing. You'll lose your temper, you'll say the wrong thing, you'll miss important moments, you'll look at other parents and think, yeah, those guys have got it together and we're just a hot mess over here. But actually, we're all in the same boat. Every parent feels this way. Every parent has moments of doubt and fear and frustration. But the wonderfully releasing thing is, kids don't need perfect parents. They need good enough parents. The good enough parents is a phrase that comes from a British psychoanalyst called Donald Winnicott. And he developed this idea of the good enough mother. Basically, he said that kids don't need perfect parents. They obviously can't have perfect parents because none of us are perfect. But they do need parents who meet their needs adequately. May not be perfect, but it's adequate. It's good enough. And actually, just being good enough is enough to give a child a massive, massive head start in life. They don't need parents who throw money at situations. They need parents who are there, show up, apologize when they get things wrong, who keep loving when it's hard. You don't have to be perfect, you just need to be good enough. All right, here's your challenge for the week. If you have kids, reconnect. Take 5 minutes at the start of the day or when they get home, hopefully both, to connect. Make eye contact. Have a conversation. Don't be distracted. Pick them up. Be their compass point. Be their compass that points them in the right direction. Number 2, meet them where they are. Think about each of your kids. What do they need from you that's unique to them? How can you meet them where they are this week? Number 3, create a memory. Plan something special with one of your kids. I think I've mentioned this in the podcast before, but my wife and I take monthly dates with our daughters where we take it in turns. One of us will have a date 1 month, and then the other will have a date with the other kid, and then the alternate month we'll swap. And just having that time where we can just go and just be together one-on-one with our kids is just wonderful. So create a memory. If you don't have kids, but you want to invest in the next generation, start asking yourself, whose life could I be involved with? Who can I take an interest in? Who can I care for? And then make it happen. Make that first step. There's loads of kind of cliched quotes that I could give you about parenting, how your kids won't remember all the times that you stayed late and be proud of you. They'll remember the times you spent with them. They won't remember the stuff that you bought them, but they'll remember the way that you made them feel. If you're there for them and you love them well, you showed up. That's a wonderful start. So there we go. We're all done as we are finishing. If you are enjoying these episodes, then why don't you join my email list? Send me an email. Reply to my messages. Send me your thoughts. I would love to hear them. Get in touch on Instagram, Life to the Full Podcast. Everything you need is in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. Like I said, next week, hopefully, interviewing my wife, who's an expert in attachment theory, and we're going to dive into how our attachment style affects all of our relationships, including with our kids and our spouse and our friends and ourselves, everyone. I'm sure it'll be a fascinating conversation, so don't miss out. Till next time, peace out.